The Story of Layla and Majnun. Chapter 1, Forbidden Love. In the vast Arabian desert, where the scorching sun kissed the golden sands, two children were born into the Banu Amir tribe, Kays, the son of a respected tribal leader, and Layla, the daughter of a wealthy and honorable man. From childhood, the two were inseparable. They played together under the shade of tall palm trees, ran through the meadows, and listened to the gentle patter of raindrops when an unexpected storm rolled in. As the years passed and they grew older, their gazes changed. Kays was no longer just a playful boy. He became a young poet, and every verse he composed carried Layla's name. Every glance from Layla became a poem in Kays's heart. But the people of the tribe noticed their growing affection, and they disapproved, Layla's father having heard the whispers of the people had warned his daughter. "Layla, you are my daughter, and our family's honor is in your hands. You must never speak to Kays again." Frightened and powerless, Layla remained silent, but at night, in the solitude of her tent, she wept and whispered Kays' poetry. Unable to bear the separation any longer, Kays went to his father and pleaded, "Father, I have only one wish, to marry Layla, ask for her hand in marriage." His father, a man of power and influence, took the finest gifts and a generous dowry and went to Layla's family with a marriage proposal. But her father was furious and refused, and saying, "A girl of our tribe will not marry a man who shamelessly proclaims his love in the streets." When Kays heard this, his world shattered. From that day on, he roamed the village, calling out Layla's name, reciting poetry of love and longing. His love was too great to be contained. The people no longer called him Kays. They called him Majnun, the Mad One. Chapter 2, The Madness of Love. By now, everyone in the tribe knew of Majnun's obsession. Layla's father, fearing for his family's honor, decided to marry her to a wealthy nobleman named Ibn Salam. Layla had no choice in the matter. The wedding day arrived. The sound of drums and joyful songs filled the air, but Layla sat alone in her tent, her heart breaking, in silence. She knew that no matter what, her heart would never belong to Ibn Salam. That very night, far away. In the desert, Majnun sat on the sands, drawing Layla's name with his fingers. A passing traveler stopped and said, "Oh, poor soul, why do you still whisper her name? She is now the wife of another man." Majnun froze, his vision blurred, his breath caught in, his throat and the world lost all meaning. He could not remain among people anymore. That night he ran into the vast desert. He did not know where he was going, but his heart knew the way. From that night on, the tribe never saw him again. People whispered, "Majnun is lost in the wilderness," but the truth was he was not lost. He had surrendered to love. He became one with the desert. The wild animals became his companions. By day, he recited poetry. By night, he gazed at the stars. The people of the village said, "Majnun is no longer human. He is just a wandering spirit, calling out Layla's name in the wind." One day an old friend found him and pleaded, "Kays, come back. This life is not meant for you." Majnun smiled faintly and replied, "Here I am free. Here no one forbids me from loving her." Chapter 3, A Tragic Fate. Years passed. Layla, though married, never gave her heart to her husband. Ibn Salam eventually died, but even in widowhood, Layla remained a prisoner of sorrow. One day, the village murmured, "Layla has fallen ill." With each passing day, she grew weaker. She could barely stand, her voice had faded, and her eyes no longer sparkled. On the final night of her life, her servant sat by her side and whispered, "My lady, do you have any last wish?" With a faint voice, Layla whispered, My lady, do you have any last wish? With a faint voice, Layla whispered, I only wish to hear my name from Majnun's lips, just once more. But that night, before hearing the voice of her beloved, she closed her eyes forever. When the news reached Majnun, he ran to her grave. He fell to his knees, placed his trembling hands upon the cold earth, and whispered, Layla. The next morning, when the villagers came to find him, he was lifeless, lying beside her grave. A few days later, the people saw something strange. From their graves, 2 trees had grown, their branches intertwined, unbreakable, even in the fiercest storm. And so, the story of Layla and Majnun became eternal. If you enjoyed this emotional and romantic story, make it sure to subscribe to our channel and support us with likes and comments so we can bring you more amazing stories like this.